Howdy, and welcome back to Celebrating Vintage Model Kits. Going to be looking at another Entex import. In this case, this is the 1974 Entex kit, what they're calling the Willow, or a K5Y2 trainer type 93 for the Imperial Japanese Navy. It is a reissue of the 1972 Otaki produced kit. It's in 148 scale. Entex's kit number is 8510. And the Willow is the Allied reporting name for this trainer. The K5Y was developed from the Type 91 primary trainer that was produced from 1930 to 1931. And the Japanese Navy was looking to fill the gap between the 100 horsepower trainer, primary trainers, and the 500 horsepower frontline aircraft. And their initial try was just too close in performance to the 500 horsepower aircraft. So they went back to the drawing board, and in 1933, started to develop this, what became the Type 93. It was the development was split between Kawanishi and the 1st Naval Air Technical Arsenal at Yokosuka, which is what this aircraft is commonly referred to as the Yokosuka K5Y. Even though they really didn't produce very many of them, it is just commonly known by that name. And that's where the Y in the K5Y comes from. And the short designation version is for Yokosuka. So they ended up utilizing a 340 horsepower Hitachi Amakaze 11 radial. And the prototype first flew in December of 33, and it entered production with Kawanishi in January of 34 as the Navy Type 93 intermediate trainer. There were two main versions built, the K5Y1, which was the land plane version, and the K5Y2, which was the twin float version. So this being the land plane version, Entex is labeling it incorrectly as the K5Y2. This should actually be a K5Y1. And let's see, Kawanishi ended up producing about 60 between 33 and 36. Nakajima came into the fold for production in 35 to 36 and produced 24 of the Y1s. Watanabe picked up from that point from 36 to 39. They produced 393 Y1s and 163 Y2s. Hitachi came into production after that from 1940 to 1944. They produced a total of 1,393. It's not known exactly what the split was on that. At the same time, Nippon from 1940 to 45 produced 2,025 of the Y1s and 706 of the Y2s. Fuji came in in 1942 through the end of War of 45 and produced 869. At some point during this production run, Mitsubishi produced 60 of them, and then Yokosuka, the original Design Bureau Technical Arsenal, produced 75 of them in 1944. So altogether, you got a total production run of 5,770. This is the most produced trainer in Japan, and one ended up being used by in the rebellion in the Dutch East Indies. The rebels got a hold of some derelict ones that were left behind by the Japanese after World War II, and it was used to do some bombing against the Dutch troops that were there. It ended up being captured by the Dutch. It was left behind after the Dutch East Indies won their independence, and that aircraft still exists in their museum. So there is one still around, and a K5Y was also the last kamikaze aircraft to sink an Allied ship. So it sunk a destroyer towards the end of 45, before the war was over. So last kamikaze attack was done by one of these. So that's a little bit of history on the Willow, and let's take a look at our kit here. So we've got the kit is still semi-sealed. Whoever had this before left the wrapping on it, but they had actually cut it open and then taped it down on here. So I'm going to remove this because it's a little kind of hokey. But I did leave it on here so that way you could see the original price tag from Fedco, which was a sort of a cheaper department store kind of thing. If I'm not mistaken, I think you had to have a membership to it. So it's kind of like the early days, you know, of Costco maybe. So this was $2.87 at some point in the mid-70s. So let's get rid of this plastic here so we can see the kit a little easier. So this is a typical Entex box style, just plain white, typically the photograph of the completed model. We've got the Entex logo down here, and as always, there's a lot of fun from Entex. You've got the name of the aircraft, package design from Group X. You got the 1/48 scale here, and it's also telling you got some steel guy wires, which is interesting, and a 6-inch wingspan. On the side here, you've got the side and top view of the built kit. A little bit of information about the Willow on the side here. Another Entex logo. This side here is pretty much identical. On the end, we've got our kit number, and you can see it's a stapled box. And here's Entex's address, but made in Japan. So they were importing the completed kits, or the probably bag kits, and then they were boxed here in the United States. Same thing on this side. And nothing really on the bottom. This is printed directly onto the cardboard. And here we have our instructions. So these are in English, and what's showing you two, basically kind of split 3 views of the 2 different marking sets that came with it. Basic stuff about instructions. On the back side here, you've got sprue layout with part number call out. And then your thin and thick wires. So she is printed on this, or it's printed in this kind of brownish color. So we've got our steps here. A little bit of cockpit detail. Looks like you get some instrument panels on here. Some crew figures. Looks like there is some detail on the inside of the fuselage. Some color call-outs at all points here. Assembling the fuselage, your wings and tail. Little windscreens. Color call-outs again. Top wing and the struts. Landing gear. And your engine, exhaust, and then decal placement. And this last part here, just show you rigging and sizes of wires to cut. Here's the decals, and the decals are in excellent shape. Really no yellowing on them at all. And there's 2 different aircraft here. According to these instructions and what's shown on the box, it looks like the 517 aircraft was in the overall orange, which is typical training color used by the Japanese. And this one here is silver with a red tail. So these are, I believe, the CA number. So it's CA 705 or CA 517. Was not able to locate a photograph of the 517, but I did find a photograph of the 705 one. That's the silver with the red tail. So we'll show that to you here. And now we'll take a look at the plastic parts. So this person opened up one of the bags. So we'll take a look at that first. So here's our wings. Nice representation of the fabric covering on here. Feels like a little bit of contexture onto it. And you've got a lot of pre-drilled holes for the rigging. Some raised lines. Yeah, actually these are recessed lines. Yep, some recessed lines on this center part here. Got some handholds. Here's your main wings. And here's our detail parts. So here's our crew figures. They're okay. And there's our wheels. Got some detail in there. Here's our engine. A little bit of flash on the engine. That's pretty nice representation there. Here's our instrument panels with some instruments on there. Here's our cockpit. So there's some detail for the flooring, rudder pedals, backside of the engine, backside of the crew. There's a seat, and some of the struts and little bits and pieces. So overall, pretty nice. And then this one here, this bag is still sealed, so we'll pop this one open for the first time. It's a stapled closed bag, as you can see. And this one comes with like one of the clear parts for the windscreen. I don't know if that's some damage to it. There's that one, and looks like there's the second one is here. That one looks pretty clear. It has some framing on it. Here's your little bag of guy wires. So there's that thick one they were talking about, and then all the rest are little thin ones. So it's nice they're giving these little metallic wires. And then here we have our fuselage. Same thing again, some real fine and great panel lining. A lot of little bits of detail on here. It's a really well produced kit, especially for 1974. Here's the interior side showing some of the details inside. Here's our rudder. Looks like we got some flash going around on it. Horizontal stabilizer, lower wings. There's our propeller. Nice hub on that. And then the engine townend ring. And here you can see the Otaki name on there. So you have it. That is your Entex / Otaki K5Y Willow. Now, something kind of interesting is that this isn't the only Willow kit that Entex released. They also had a 1/32 scale one, which came with both wheel gear and floats. And that one was produced originally by Nito. And Nito, when they were releasing the kit, were going back and forth. You know, one release had the wheels, one release had the floats, and went back and forth. Nito was also imported into the UK by Ricoh, and same thing with them. They had the individual kits, and then Daisha ended up with the molds in the late 90s, and most recently released in 2018. So the Entex one appears to be the only one that comes with both the floats and the wheeled gear on that 32nd scale aircraft. So kind of interesting that this obscure plane, they would release two versions of it in two different scales. So as far as the this 48 scale Otaki kit, so you had the original issue in 1972. 73 new artwork was done, same decal sets, but just different artwork. You have the 74 Entex. 75 Otaki did another one with yet another new artwork on it. And then in 1980, Scalecraft imported them into the U.S. under the Otaki Scalecraft label, utilizing the 1973 artwork. 85, Otaki went back to using the 73 artwork, and Otaki went belly up right around that time, and most of their molds were bought up by Ari, and Ari issued it in 86 and 91, again with that 73 artwork. And then the most recent issues were from Micro Ace in 2013 and 2018. So pretty recent issues on it. And I can see why, because this is a pretty nice kit. It's got some nice detail to it. I think it's a pretty good competitive kit in today's market. So if you're interested in this type of aircraft, kind of something obscure, or you're into trainer aircraft, this is a pretty nice kit. I'd strongly recommend picking one up if you're into this type of plane. Well, that's about it for this one. So as always, if you have built one of these, tell us about it in the comment section. Still got one sitting on your shelf, take a picture of it, send it in so we can include it in our next viewer build video. The email address is in the channel description. And that is about it. So thanks for watching, and as always, have yourself a great rest of your day.